Hey, what's going on? I'm Matt O'Leary back with another video, and today we'll be talking about how the New York Jets failed Sam Darnold. But before we get started, just wanted to mention you can follow me on social media at Matt O'Leary NY. If you haven't already, please make sure to check out the podcast. Link is down in the description below. All right, so clearly the Jets did Sam Darnold zero favors during his 3 years with the team. There's multiple reasons why it didn't work out. And yes, part of the blame does fall on Sam Darnold. There's no denying that some of this is on Sam, but the position he was put in was really, really bad. And it's easy to see why things didn't work out and why there was a regression in 2020 and why betting on him to figure it out after all of this happening was a bit much. So we'll start with the drafting. So in 2018, the Jets gave up 3 picks to move up and get Sam Darnold. They were at pick 6. They move up to pick 3. And with that, the rest of the 2018 draft class, not great. Now, it was a smart move to try to get up to get a quarterback. And I will give Mike Maccagnan credit for that because where they were sitting at 6, there was no guarantee of a top guy making it that far. So they wanted to go up and put themselves in a position where they would get one of the top guys, which they did. What they did after that was awful. So their next pick after that was in round 3. And they took Nathan Shepard, who was a 25-year-old Division II defensive tackle. So that was Mike Maccagnan's big idea for how to help his young quarterback. He then took Chris Herndon in round 4, who flashed as a rookie and I still think has potential to be okay in this league. And then the only other offensive player taken in that draft class was Trenton Cannon in round 6, who is very, very fast, and that's about it. Looking at 2019, the only offensive players he took was Chuma Edoga in round 3, who was a tackle from USC, and Trayvon Wesco in round 4, a year after taking Chris Herndon in 2018. Oh, yeah, and by the way, in 2017, he also took a tight end in Jordan Leggett, who was awful. But Trayvon Wesco has done virtually nothing in the NFL. Chuma Edoga is a bad tackle. I don't think he's not going to be a starter in this league. I don't ever see him being a starter. Maybe he's okay depth, but anything more than that, not really too great. And his first round pick, number 3 overall, was Quinnen Williams, a defensive tackle. And his first pick after that in round 3 was an edge in someone who, hand up, I was wrong about Ja'Kai Polite. I thought it was good value there, but clearly his head was not on straight. So drafting was a major, major key for why Sam Darnold never had a team around him. And let's not forget whiffs earlier in Mike Maccagnan's era to lead up to that poor and barren roster. For instance, Ardarius Stewart, Chad Hansen, Jordan Leggett, Eli McGuire, all in previous drafts leading up to Sam Darnold, so they had no offensive playmakers. The next thing I want to look at is coaching. The positions that these guys were put in, or Sam Darnold was put in around these coaches, is just so bizarre. So Jeremy Bates was out of the NFL for 5 years. He last coached in 2012, and then he came back in 2017 to work as a quarterback coach before being promoted in 2018 to offensive coordinator for the New York Jets. Now, in those 5 years, I am not joking. This dude was a mountain climber. He was living out in the mountains, having the best time of his life. The Jets found him somehow and brought him back and made him the quarterback coach and then the offensive coordinator. So this is someone who was out of football for a half a decade, and they bring him back. And it's not someone who is necessarily having a ton of success in the NFL before he left. So then the Jets fired Todd Bowles, which is the right decision. But in 2019, they go out and hire Adam Gase. And this should be one of the final nails in the coffin because Adam Gase has had no success in the NFL unless Peyton Manning was his quarterback. Jay Cutler was okay for a year in 2015. Then he goes to Miami, is awful. We know what happened with Ryan Tannehill after that. And he brings his crony Dowell Loggins with him, who was the offensive coordinator in 2019 and 2020. And I'm still not quite sure what Dowell Loggins actually did. I think this was 100% on Adam Gase and his development. But Dowell Loggins was basically just along for the ride. And the only reason he was in the NFL for the last 4 years or however long it was because he was friends with Adam Gase. He never brought in someone who could challenge himself, or he never brought in someone who, was an actual quarterback coach. He never really had, he being Sam Darnold, never really had a quarterback coach, which is a massive thing for a young quarterback. And after 3 years of that, sure, bad habits are going to start coming up. Again, this is not a video to sit here and say the Jets made the wrong decision to move on. I am just explaining how they got to this point from taking a really a good quarterback prospect to ruining him in the span of 3 years, to the point where you have to have the number 2 overall pick and you can't see yourself passing up on a quarterback. And then there's just the overall roster too on top of that. Like, there were points where he was throwing to Deontay Burnett at times in his rookie year. Jermaine Kearse pretty much just quit in 2018. He had no interest in anything. They had Terrell Pryor brought in for like a handful of games. They were throwing to Andre Roberts, was like an actual receiver for this team on a little bit. Jeff Smith, Vincent Smith, Braxton Berrios, just a few guys to name a few. The corpse of Chris Hogan was a starting wide receiver. So they put very little weapons around him, and they let Robbie Anderson walk, which I know that seems like I'm being a dead horse here, but they did have chemistry, and they replaced him. This is on Joe Douglas now, not Mike McCagnon, with a more injured, worse version of Robbie Anderson in Brashad Perryman. They did not do enough to address the offensive line. Spencer Long almost got him killed in 2018. He got him hurt in the game against Miami. The offensive line was just not good. They had a couple of stopgap options on that line. 2019 was the worst line in football. You had Calvin Beachum, who was a shell of his former self. Then you had Ryan Khalil, who came out of retirement and was not very good. 2020 was a step forward. The line did get better. Still wasn't great, but it did get better. At left tackle, you had a legit center, and at right tackle was fine. The guard play was still not good enough. And that's still a need going forward, and you're not going to put your rookie quarterback in a situation like Sam Darnold was, because there's actually structure here for your rookie quarterback. You have a general manager who seems to be able to navigate the draft. You have at least he hasn't coached the game as a head coach yet, but he has at minimum brought over a really good staff that has a chance to develop someone. And you look at like the wide receiver core, there's no star right now, but Jamison Crowder is a solid slot receiver. Denzel Mims on the outside, you have to be excited about. Corey Davis is going to fit this system perfectly. And maybe Chris Herndon can come back and be a decent tight end in this system. I think he can. So whether it's Zach Wilson, whether it's Justin Fields, whoever is the quarterback going forward, they will not be in a situation as bad as what Sam Darnold was. But we can't just sit here and say that it was 100%, oh, this is Sam. Like, Sam just isn't good in the NFL. While he has definitely struggled, no one's going to deny that. And I will reiterate, it was the right decision to move on from him. There are so many factors as to why things failed, and the Jets did no favors. So this time around, they can't do that. They have to hit on these 21 picks, not all 21, but they have to hit on some really big 20 of these 21 picks. And you just have to be better than Mike McCagnon and Adam Gase, which seems like something that is reasonable to expect from Robert Saleh and Joe Douglas. So let me know in the comments down below why you think Sam Darnold failed in the NFL. Did I miss anything? Let me know. Once again, I am Matt O'Leary. Make sure to subscribe. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. And also, you can check out the applause feature where you can leave a little tip. So give that a shot too if it's something of interest.